Okay, I'm here again. Can you hear this time? Yeah. Why is it every second time? Hi Shane. Why is it every second time I do Periscope? What is going on? I don't know if anybody else has these issues. Second time weird. It's always second time. I don't know. Hello Sage. Welcome. I don't know if it's just my phone or what. Some setting. There is the lovely Christine. Welcome. Thanks for joining me today, because obviously we're all in the middle of Christmassy stuff going on. I just want to I want to say this because it was a big part of my life that, R.I.P. George Michael, because he was a big part of my teen life. I'm here now, party can start, yay. Let me turn this around a minute. And to me, that was a big shock on Christmas Day. I'm actually sat on my bed. He was, morning Sherry, welcome, happy Christmassy New Year to you. And he was a massive part of my life. And obviously, I was in my teens in the 80s, and I was seriously shocked because the day that it happened, just the night actually before it happened, we were actually. We were talking about George Michael, and we were talking about icons, and then I was actually laid in bed on Christmas night, and I was flat out, and I heard this almighty scream from my eldest daughter, "Mom! George Michael's dead!" And of course I jumped up out of bed, and I was just in absolute shock. And we watched the news, and so, I'm still quite shocked now, because when you followed Wham, and when they were so big in the 80s, and I think that led on to my thoughts about teenagers. So young, absolutely. Currently working and listening. Well, keep listening, my darling, keep listening. The reason why I wanted to do this was because love to all, blessings on your celebrations, and to you, Vanessa. The reason I wanted to do this scope was because I work a lot with teenagers, and have worked a lot with teenagers, and still work a lot with teenagers who are going through a lot of trauma. And every week I see teenagers who are seriously suffering from mental illness, not just during this time of year, but, self-harming, due to peer pressure, conditioning. I've had 2 members of my family commit suicide due to peer pressure and serious conditioning, because they didn't get into universities that they were meant to get into. And it's been around me most of my life. And obviously we've spoke also a lot about my teenage mental health through anorexia, and not to bring down your Christmas or anything. But this is a time of year. I just want to tell you a little story, because I love telling stories about what happened today. I was out today taking my youngest daughter out to get some sneakers. In the UK, we call them trainers, but for school, because she didn't get any over Christmas. So I took her out, and the sales are on. So it brings anxiety up for me, and it may do for a lot of you, the feeling that occurs when you have to hit a load of shops with a lot of people in them. And I hate it as it is. I'm not one of these people who likes to shop. I do most of my shopping online. So we went out, and we did some shopping, and we did some looking for sneakers, which we got very quickly, thanks to Mum here. And as I was out, I was observing. Now, I don't know if overwhelming, absolutely, Christine. So I always advise you to see if, when you're in these situations, if you enjoy them, that's wonderful. But if not so much, step out and just have a look at what's going on around you. And we've all been spoilt. Sorry to hear that, hun. Well, it's part of the journey, isn't it? And it obviously very sad when all these things happen. But it's something to again contemplate within our lives. Hello, Kelly. So I was in the sports shop, and obviously over the last 48 hours, we've all been spoiled, and we've all got things that we wanted and we haven't wanted, and all that stuff. Even to a point where we, like I say, haven't wanted stuff that people feel that they have to give. And I do find that quite sort of overwhelming, and tend to be a person who only says to people, get me something that I really, really want, so that my house isn't filled with junk and shit, and because I can't be doing with that, So anyway, we were in the shop, and we were watching, and I was just watching these children with the hoodies, and they were pulling them off and checking the price and taking photos, and it was like they were gorging in a way, and I often can see that with the food that used to be around at Christmas when I was young, and I used to be anorexic and bulimic, that I used to gorge on it. And now it's the material things like clothing, and watching families just going crazy on buying things. I was so happy that Mum gave me oils, and oh, that's wonderful, good, because that's something you would love, and I'm glad for you too. So watching families that are sort of grabbing stuff and absorbing stuff and just taking in stuff that they don't even need to have, and it's just this intense feeling of, I'm feeling it for them because I'm so sensitive, thinking what the shit is going on. And I felt quite anxious in my stomach when I left, and I was trying to get Carly to be as quick as she could be, but not only through consuming stuff, but also children are actually sort of made to feel this way. They're not allowed to be children. They're not allowed to have fun. They're not allowed to feel what it feels like to go out and step in the woods on the 27th of December and look at what winter is showing us outside. They feel that they have to be riding their new bike. They feel that they have to be riding their motorised cars, which is what's been going around our area for 8 and 9 year olds over the last 24 hours. And it's not about sort of going out, even relaxing, that's good. I feel like that today, but even just going out in the woods and saying, let's have a look at nature. And, I go on about this a lot, but it's all about now. Can you remember the times, I know in the US maybe it wasn't the same, but certainly in the UK, these times during Christmas and New Year, we all used to get out into nature because the shops were shut. Christmas Eve was the end of it, right up until I think it was probably the 2nd of January when the big sales started, and everything was shut. So you were made to actually really look at nature and step out and do things with your family and play board games and communicate. What's that? A bit of communication between you and talking and seeing people that you hadn't seen for years or a year. So that's why I wanted to really, they were called January sales. Absolutely. You can remember Harrods. Harrods used to, in London, they used to have a massive sale on, and they used to open their doors on January, I think it was the 1st or 2nd. And everybody used to fly in, My mum has a funny story where she went in and she picked up a dining set that she'd wanted for ages, and somebody had knocked it out of her hand. They were so desperate and smashed it. Yes, absolutely, Kelly. No TV, no mobile phones. And that was the point of what I wrote today on Instagram and on Facebook, because I've worked with a lot of children and children that have actually been on here, and children's parents who've been on here on Periscope, who children are suffering from ADHD or suffering from autism, who are suffering from so much peer pressure. And the big one for me that has been in my family has been the bullying with children. And I try and teach my children that, it's so good to be different. A good use of English word, Kelly. Yes, it's so good to be different. It's just so good to have that little zaniness about you. But you know what's so sad is that we don't see that until we hit our 20s or 30s. And as we are young, we just want to fit in right now with everybody. And I don't remember it being that way when we were children. We were okay being different. And I know I'm sounding like I'm really old, but we felt okay, even if we were loners. And I know Joel was a loner. I was certainly a loner. Hard to convince them weird is good. Absolutely. And I know you have a young one as well, Christine, that's, just a bit older than my youngest one. And I can tell you now, I've got an 18-year-old who went through hell. That's actually her on the photo on social media. She'll hate me for putting that up because she's not on social media. But I watched her going through her teens, and Brittany, exactly, even I was a loner in elementary school. Yeah, well, even looking back now, just saying it's okay that we were that way because we've learnt so much. But my eldest daughter was seriously ill when she was 14, and I had to take her out of school for 2 months and look after her, and it was hard. And even now, even bullied, almost suicide. Yep, that's what I was just about to say with my eldest. And she's 18 now, and she's changed so much. I mean, she looks back now and she'll talk to her sister about, what are you doing? And there were days when I thought I was losing her, because it was it was so tough where she was, but she had to go through that space and she had to do it. So yeah, I'm really sorry for that, Sage, but I so resonate with you. And, you know, I want to say this to so many people out there, that you're not alone. You know, you're not alone in that feeling, that although you really do feel alone, you're not alone. And the pressure that is put on children these days is just so tough. It's like, because we have social media, because we have the Kardashians and the Sigourney Jolies, dare I say, that I have to buy calendars about these people. And I do them, but I do them with respect, from a place of, okay, I'll buy you this calendar on the Sigourney Jolies, but what I want you to understand is this is not reality, and is to educate that being in that space of reality TV, which I think has been a killer for many of us, many people, many children. It's the thing that creates, we all want to be famous. We all want to be famous. You know, we're brought up to be the thought that it's normal to be famous and in the public eye. Yeah, I'll show you a photo of them. The Sigourney Jolies are an Irish family that were basically created around reality TV. So they have their children. Their mother had a miscarriage last year. She talks about that constantly on YouTube, and it's just like this feeding of you know, it's, in a way, yes, it's okay to be authentic and to speak your truth, but then I wonder, where is there any privacy in your life, and where can you go, okay, I can step back and I can keep this for myself in my heart, and I don't have to share it with the world because I am famous and because I'm writing books about my YouTube channel and and there's loads of them. There's Zoella, there's everybody, you know, there's so many people out there doing it. But this is what our children are seeing now. They're seeing that this is kind of normal. It scares me, but what my advice today is to, if it's your grandchildren, if it's your children, is just to educate them, because they're not going to not do it. They're not going to not be on social media. I had a bit of a thing with my eldest daughter, because I kept her away from Facebook, and I managed to keep her away from Facebook. Then I noticed the time, in the 6-year age gap between my two children, how much social media had changed, that every child was on social media and every child in school was communicating through social media. And if you don't allow your child to be on social media, then they're pushed aside. Amazes me kids don't know the names of vegetables. Yes, you're right, Joel, it's so true. Not in our house. But I noticed when Carly went on social media, I kept her off Instagram, and she basically said, Mum, I've got no friends, because it's so sad. I don't know if, again, it's like this in the US, but when they arrange to meet up, they do it on social media. They don't do it at school to each other's faces, and I find that weird. But so my compromise was, okay, you can be on Instagram, and, you know, many of you know she is, and because I know, you know, Joel follows her, and I have people watching her there. So, you know, I'm on social media with her, and I can watch her on Snapchat, and I can watch her on Instagram, and that's the only way for me to be able to get that balance, you know, to be able to see that that's okay, and that we can be here. And if she's putting something up that I don't agree with, then okay, come on, let's take that off. And the reason why we take that off is because of, you know, so it is really sad, because we can't keep them off social media anymore, because that stops them having friendships. So that's the way it is. So I wrote today a post about that spare a thought for the teens, really, because like I say, I've worked with a lot of teenagers, and I want to just put out there that flower essences are amazing for teenagers, whether that's Silent Moon, whether that's Batch, or whatever. And the reason why I say they're so good, because they work so quickly, because children have less of those onion layers to get through. They have a lot more ways of being able to deal with it quicker, and we've had some faster results. Why it's more important to present as a parent? Yes, absolutely. So yeah, if we're parents and we're sat there all day doing this, then what are our children going to learn? They're going to learn exactly the same. They're just going to learn the habit, the pattern, and then we shout at them for being on their phone. But let's look at what we're doing, and I've done it myself, you know. So yes, so I've worked a lot with teens. I've given teenagers a lot, especially with ADHD, autism. There's one I've got coming out, which was one of the secret ones, which is Rainbow Chrysanthemum. I'm going to bring that out on its own in January. And thanks for all hearts, by the way, because this specifically worked with children who have autism. And adults, of course, but it's very good for kids who have ADHD and autism. What it does is it gives them a sense of expression in their own right, if that makes any sense, without feeling so sort of consumed by the world around them. Because if any of you know about autistic children, many of them are, well, they all are extremely highly sensitive children. Children catch more by watching than they do absolutely by teaching. I absolutely totally agree with you, Kelly. Yes, they do. So yes, so that's a really, really wonderful essence for children who have high sensitivity and need a lot more balance in their lives. Yeah, it's very important for autistics. And of course, my first training in yoga was for children with special needs, which, you know, I can't do anything by half, so I went straight in there with working with children with special needs. So thank you so much for sharing this, Moon. You're so welcome, Sage. You are welcome. Sage, where are you based? Are you in the US or are you in the UK? I'm sure you're in the UK. I'm probably totally wrong, but I have a sense that you're in the UK. Oh, you're in Canada? Neither. Okay. Well, everybody, so if you're not on my Instagram at Silent Moon Imaginarium or on Facebook, please give that a read and just think, I wish I was in the UK. Come to the UK. You can come. And just give it a read and just think about the children around you, and also think about the child within you, because the child within you also needs that nurturing. It needs to get out in the woods. It needs that time away from the busyness of what is out there and the material life that we live. And I know that many of you like that, and that's okay. And many of you aren't as sensitive to some of us as, to some of us are to that lifestyle. But enjoy it, and I'm going to spend some time in the next couple of days in the English Lake District, which is my place that I love. What advice do you have for mums with very intuitive, gifted teenagers? Good question. Always wanted to come there. Well, please do come next year. The crystal children, the rainbow children, these children that are coming in now are extremely, extremely intuitive, and to a point where they're just beyond us. And I would say that a very, very good one that I've put out with only 11 bottles, there's a few bottles left of it, that I put out a few weeks ago, is The Secret that I put out, which is a combination of lilac. It's also, because when we tend to be highly intuitive and creative and very sensitive, we tend to self-sabotage ourselves so we can sit in the world with everybody else, so we give ourselves a hard time. Also, Rainbow Chrysanthemum is in there, which is the one I've just been talking about, which is very good for sensitives and for balancing sensitive people and allowing them to sort of create that aura around themselves where they can actually go out into the world. And the other one in that is Poppy, which is for decision making and for people who are quite ambivalent and need to be able to sort of ground themselves a little bit more. The Secret is a limited edition. Yes, it is. So that's a really good one. I think there's a few bottles of that left. And also, what I would advise you to do for clarity, yes, well, clarity is involved in that particular essence, but what I would advise you all to do, and what I've said to many parents who've worked with me, if they've wanted to do it as a consultation with me, with their child, that's fine. But if they want their child to pick the essences, I always say don't let the mother pick the essence, because this isn't about you taking them. And as mothers, as I know as a mother, we like to try and control sometimes. So what I always say, if you want your child to take a flower essence, especially from Silent Moon, if you look at all the pictures of the elixirs on the page on the computer, and then let your child pick what they're drawn to, because they will be drawn, as you know, for those of you that have actually purchased them, you're drawn to particular ones. That's why I try and keep them very similar in look, as best I can, because you're drawn to particular ones. Not me, they need their own path. Yeah, good. I'm glad. So you're not one of those mothers, so that's brilliant. So ideally for you, it would be good if that you got your child to sit down and look. I know there's great consultation testimonials. Yes, you can read all about the testimonials on the website at silent-moon.co.uk. Get your child to pick and look. Also, I always say that if they haven't taken anything before, I repeat this a lot, but a good one to have, like as a rescue in a way, as one that's got a really sensitive heart, is rose quartz or any of the rose essences. Have to go. Oh, you take care, Sage. I hope that's answered your question. Really, what's your real name? I probably know you, but you've changed your handle. But the ones that are based around rose, and I'm going to create a new rose one next summer, which is going to be a combination rose. Because I've been downloading all the essences that are coming out next year, because they call me usually in the winter time. For those of you that haven't bought Maiden Mother Crone yet, the crone is actually different from last year because I've just created new crone, so it's very different energy. So it's really lovely I've actually been taking this particular crone because I've needed it. So yeah, let your child do their own thing, and really, really, be the guide, not the controller. Like, just guide them along the way. And if they're picking essences, I know there's oh, they're twins. Gosh, wow. I'm sure I spoke to you before. I'm sure I have spoke to you before about twins, unless it's somebody else. But the mothers that I've worked with before, I've always said, oh, Patty, hello, Patty. Yes, I think I've spoke to you before, my love. Is to actually get your child to look at the essences themselves, and when they're doing it, because they're twins and they're very connected, let them do it separately. Let them do it from a separate space and look themselves. But I always would say, again, to have a rose, if you've got children who are extremely sensitive, and yourself, because you will be as well, having those sensitive children, is to have a rose around you. If you pick up negativity a lot as well, it's good to have a bottle of black tourmaline as well, and you can take it or you can pop it into a spray bottle and spray it around you. That's very, very good one for people who use a lot of computer energy, which is what most of us do. It just takes away that those vibes that the computers throw out at us, because believe it or not, they throw out a lot of energy, and not all of us are used to that. So that you can always email me at indra@silent-moon.co.uk. Hello, there's Brittany. And if you have any questions, just please ask me, because it's not always an easy thing, especially when you're dealing with hypersensitive children. And sometimes you start to think, well, what am I doing and how can I help? Always look at the diet as well. Make sure that the diet is good and they're getting a balanced diet. And because that's a lot of what goes on now. There's so much crap in food that we need to have, keep a nice balanced diet. Not restrict our kids, but, just say, okay, little and often does us good. Grounding food, absolutely, Joel. Lots of red food, lots of orange food, lots of yellow food. Those really strong foods that allow us to ground. But also, if they're hypersensitive, we have to keep the balance, because we don't want to close that down. It's really important. Get them to write as well, Patty. I'm a big advocate of writing. If they like to write, get them to journal, get them to speak out their stories, get them to tell you what it is that they're seeing or they're feeling, and just be, really open with that. I think it's really important to start your children off writing really early. It's a good habit to get into. Oh, there you go. There you go. I was a poet as well at that age, when I was young. So keep them going with that, that creative energy. And there's many of my elixirs that will help with that, because that's what I loved. My energy goes into them, so a lot of them help with opening the doors of creativity. And like I say, it's very much about peeling away the onion layers and really, really opening the channels. And that's what flower essences do. They really open the channels so that you can be truly who you are. Oh, you're so welcome. And that if you want to ask any questions, please email me. Oh, brilliant. He's an amazing writer. Good. Oh, so you're connected. Brilliant. People don't get it. No, people don't get it. Youth are especially pressured to be the same. Absolutely, Brittany, they are. They absolutely are. And I think it's just really important that we speak it out. And I think maybe in the new year I will, as I've had a lot of children come to me through Periscope, through their mothers, and had consultations, you know, and some of them have actually been, dare I say this, but I'm going to say it, have stopped their medication because of flower essences and because of the consultations that I've done with them. It's worse now than ever, it seems, all of these reality shows. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we were saying at the beginning, Brittany, if you didn't hear. It's the reality TV that's kind of been the death of it all, really. So just keep it in mind. It's a hard time for them, especially this time of year where, what did you get for Christmas? What did you, oh, that one didn't get as much as me. Oh, I got a lot more. And then next week go back to school and more, you know, what did they, oh, I didn't get that. It's hard for children, and we as adults, we can just go brush it off, but you know, it's not easy. Yes, thank goodness some parents find help like this. Oh, thank you. Well, all of us as parents and grandparents, you know, we need, you know, together we need to step up and keep you know, our children balanced, because they are our future. I know that sounds a bit cliche, but it's true, they are. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining me on the 27th. I know you're all busy doing your stuff, and it's that weird time of year where I was just saying to my youngest this morning, it's that weird time of year where we're all in transition, where we're not in a new year, but we're in sort of the edge of being, you know, we've had Christmas and it's so thank you for joining me and being here, and thanks for giving your input. And happy holidays to you too, everybody. And give that Facebook or the Instagram post today, give it a read and just share it out, and just let people know that flower essences are a wonderful, wonderful thing to support you. And remember, the flower essences are very, thank you, Sherry, are very, very good for you know, the higher self. And the crystal elixirs, they're very, very good for grounding. So it's always nice to have a balance of them in and around you. And remember that I can also make up combinations as well if you want something that's more resonating with just you. Okay, that's enough. Love you loads, and have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. See you soon.